Welcome to the simpliHOM podcast, where we educate, inspire, and entertain real estate entrepreneurs seeking a casual and practical podcast. We're here to simplify your life and business.
You can find growth anywhere. And as long as you have an open mind and take those opportunities to learn, then you're going to grow from it.
The easiest thing too is just always being in your zone of genius, what you are passionate about and are good at.
The mindset shift is drastic when you're thinking of I am this person as opposed to I want to become or one day I will be is huge.
I feel like a lot of real estate companies have been putting a focus on themselves, basically. Recently, we've been putting it on the agents, and that's when our socials have been doing the best. It's become really personal, and we've gotten a lot more traction.
What's up? What's up? It is Sean Mike Q, and I'm going to be your host again today. I get to play host like every now and again, and today is that day. So I'm the CEO, founder of simpliHOM, joined here today with Swy, our director of operations here at simpliHOM, and we got Grant over there on the ones and twos. What's up? Hey, yeah. And then we have a special guest today, Elizabeth Taylor, a super inspirational Nashville agent who year to date has already sold like...
I think I'm at 12 million.
12 million. It's
okay,
March.
Big ballin' over
Happy
here.
March.
It's March 23rd, so slinging them.
I'm thinking I'm going to veg out the rest of the year and go vacation.
Oh, typical realtor.
We'll see. No.
I'm kidding.
Would I do that to myself? No.
No, you wouldn't do that to yourself. So Elizabeth and I have been friends for a while, and she has a super amazing story. And she actually... I took a note earlier. We had lunch before the podcast, and I had to write down this note.
He's already writing notes.
I'm already writing
I
notes. Yeah, and she said, quote, "The hardest thing I have to deal with is the thing that people want to hear about and are inspired by." And so I want you to share your story a bit.
Yeah, totally. I'm trying to think where to start. I might start all the way back to my childhood just briefly because that helps explain, my journey that I've been on. But I grew up in a religious cult and picked up a lot of bad, what do we want to say? Like just a lot of bad issues there and a lot of bad thinking, I think is the biggest thing.
It's the mindset.
Yeah. So I realized to keep someone in a group like that, you have to plant a lot of fear into them to keep them, captive and feel like that they can't leave. So anyway, I grew up in that situation and came out of that and got married young and had 2 kids. And then at 24, my life changed again. So I spent my early 20s realizing that I had grown up in this bad environment and really wanting to switch this and turn it around and really come out, in a better place. Mm-hmm. And then I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in, I don't remember which year, I think 2007. I was 24. And it turned my world upside down.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Like you're 20.
Young adult.
24.
Yeah.
4. Yeah. Can you
imagine this right now? I felt doomed. I literally felt doomed. And the worst part was the doctor, I remember she called me and told me over the phone, that's what I had, which is a terrible way to do it. Yeah. She had seen my MRIs of my brain, especially in my spinal cord, and it showed a lot of damage already. And she told me I had MS. And so what's the first thing you do?
Google.
Yes.
And 2007,
and Google's
I feel like there wasn't much to do
what
there.
Did Google tell me?
You died 6 months ago?
Yeah. Basically. It was really bad. I'm smiling now. I wasn't smiling then. I was devastated. Yeah. And so here I am at 24 getting diagnosed with MS. And I got on Google and determined, I was probably going to be in a wheelchair pretty soon. A lot of people with MS do wind up in wheelchairs because if you don't know anything about MS, it's a neurological autoimmune disease. So every time you have an episode, which is, it can affect, any part of your body neurologically speaking. But what it does is it creates scars on your brain and your spinal cord and like your neck area. And then it blocks the nerve signals, which is why people eventually wind up in a wheelchair because, they don't have those nerve signals going and working really well. So, needless to say, that was 2007 and it changed my life. It has completely changed my life. And so the next, 2022. So the next probably 10 years, the next 10 years, I just spent having episode after episode, and I was having a hard time figuring out how to not get into that spot where I would flare up again and have another episode, because every time you do it, like I said, you're getting more scars on your brain. So I have had some pretty horrific things happen. I've had periods of time where my legs were just paralyzed and I couldn't walk. And, you can ask any of my friends and family. It's horrific to see within, a period of a short amount of days, to go from all of a sudden I can walk to all of a sudden my body's just completely paralyzed parts of it. I'd say the most horrific time though was the time that I lost the use of my hand and my arm. I just was completely paralyzed, completely numb, couldn't use it, lost all function. That was 2013, and that's when the change I think started in my life. I think I started realizing like I'm gonna have to like get a handle on this, or it's gonna just run me to the ground like it's trying to right now. But the reason I brought up the way that I was raised is because in 2013, I took about 7 weeks to go see a doctor to get help. And this story is super emotional, so sorry if I get emotional, because it actually turns out awesome, but it's really, really tough because I'm still living it.
Well, if I'm crying in the club, I'm so sorry.
No, you're totally fine. And if I do, same here. So in 2013, it took me 7 weeks to go see the doctor because I had some really bad thinking. So in that group, they taught you if you had any sickness in your body, it was all your fault. And so here I am, I don't remember how old I would have been in 2013. I'm
30.
39 right now. Yeah.
30-ish.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Thanks for the math there.
Yeah, no problem.
And so I went to see the doctor finally after 7 weeks, and he was so angry at me. And this neurologist looked at me and he's like, literally nobody waits this long to get help. And that turned on a light bulb in my head. And I was like, what am I doing? I am running my body to the ground because of these beliefs. Mm-hmm. And something switched in my head, and I just realized I can't live like this. Mm-hmm. And so it took me a good 3 months to even get any feeling back in my hand. I thought I'd lost it for good. I had to go do hand therapy. I couldn't even connect my fingers, nothing. And I'm so freaking lucky, thank God, that I got all my feeling and movement back. But I worked really hard. And eventually, because I waited so long, it had gone down the whole right side of my body and continued to paralyze the right side of my body, and then started going up my left side. That's when I got help, but that was the 7th week or whatever. It's just horrific.
Yeah.
Why do we do that to ourselves? So anyway, I went through that, and then the next year I had another episode. Within 72 hours, I was completely paralyzed again, all the way up from my feet to my ribs. Mm-hmm. And we figured out I had some other little health issue that I needed to treat. And once I could treat that, it stopped the episode. But guess what I did different? I went in right away and I got help. And I could tell that something had switched in my brain where I think I was doing some emotional therapy during that time, and just realizing I've got to turn this around. If I want a chance to continue to be able to walk and to live my life, I've got to turn this around. So 2014, I just saw this mental picture of myself. I went around a mountain. It's God took me around the mountain again. Here, we're going to do it again, but you're going to do it different this time. Mm-hmm. And I did. And so I was able to come out of that really fast, and so fast that I'll never forget. That same doctor that probably thought I was crazy by now, or he felt really sorry for me, was I recovered so quickly, I didn't even need any physical therapy. I came out of that so quickly, of that paralyzed state or whatever. So that, I think, was really the beginning of my emotional, mental journey with all of this. Because, when you're having a physical situation, anybody who deals with that knows there's a whole nother emotional and mental journey that goes with that. So that was 2014. And then my family and I moved here in 2015 to the Nashville area. And I just continue. It is hard to beat this illness, y'all. It is. I work really, really hard. Sean knows.
Yeah, you work real hard.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm like, what else do I have to do? I tried 75 hard recently, but I realized I already do 75 hard. The things I do have to be so intentional every single day that trying to add 75 hard to it, I literally couldn't keep up. I was just this is too much for me already. I'm already living life in such a way, every day I have to be so intentional just to stay on my feet. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, so we moved here in 2015, had more episodes, 2016 had another issue, so every time to get out of these issues that come up, the best way to do it is to take like 3,000 milligrams of steroids. It's a lot of steroids over a period of a few days. You just pump them into your body. It shuts down your immune system and then restarts it. Every time is horrific, and I feel horrible.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the only way they really know how to treat it. Otherwise, you can take a chance of trying to bounce out of it yourself. But that's, if I were to go see a doctor, that's the first thing they would tell you to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, in 2017, it was time to get another MRI. And so I went and got an MRI of my brain, especially. And I was seeing a new doctor, you know, here in the Nashville area. And I walked into his office, and he'd read me the MRI and all that. And then he said to me, you were the 1/3 of the MS population that is going to be severely disabled very quickly here. And I was angry and shocked. And then there was a reason that he's not even anybody working with Dr. Hunter in the Nashville area knows he doesn't have a great reputation. So I went to another guy and got his take on it. And I met him for the first time after, you know, he'd seen my MRI. He walked into the room to meet me and asked if I could just try to attempt to walk across the floor of his office. And I did, you know, pretty much like I walked in here today. And he looked at me and he's like, you shouldn't even be able to walk right now. And you're really lucky that you are. And he called me stubborn, which...
Good, right?
Yeah, I was like, all right, I'll take that as a win. I am stubborn. I got a little fight in me. I'm not going to give up. But hearing two doctors tell me essentially the same thing freaked me out really bad. And I went into a really dark place for a minute. And so for about 3 days, I'll never forget, I went back to my house. I blogged a little bit. I told you I blogged, you know, before I started real estate. I don't have time to do that anymore. But it was a fun journey to do that. Yeah. But anyway, I blogged for a while, just over those few days. And the reason I share this moment is it was the turning point for me, where it was like the second level of something waking up in me like, okay, you're either going to lay down and die, AKA decide to be in a wheelchair. Because typically most people go and get, they buy a wheelchair at that point.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them, honestly. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't fault anyone. It's, you know, a really tough journey. I thought, or, you know, I could either do that or I could just stand up and try to push back. And so something in me woke up and rose up, and then I decided to push back. And so what did I do? I went and decided to try to get my real estate license. Meanwhile, my neurologist is telling me I won't be able to pass. Like, I had nobody believing in me, and I didn't even believe in myself. So it felt like, oh man, it was hard. I felt like the odds were literally stacked against me. Yeah. I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to get out of this one. But I felt like if I really am going to be disabled, I want to, I had been at home raising our kids essentially for the most part since they were born. And I wanted to be able to just try my hand at a career. Yeah. So that was the one that kind of came to mind. And I thought I would give it a try. And I know. While I was getting my real estate license, I started working at a local coffee shop. The reason being is because I literally thought I probably wouldn't pass. And I thought, we could use the money. I'll go make a little money. But it was working in that coffee shop that I started getting a lot of cool feedback from people and telling me like I had a way of making people feel seen and heard, and just like feedback that was outside of my head, which I think is super important. You know, having people like tell you what they think instead of just your own thoughts running through your mind, I think is huge. Yeah. I'm realizing as I look back. So it took me 3 times, but I finally passed and I got my license in 2018 in March, and felt like going back to my doctor and say, see, I told you, right? But I didn't have that fight in me. I still wasn't like confident enough. So, but honestly, since I've been in real estate, it's just taken off. And so now I'm living in the balance of battling a disease and selling real estate and being very successful. And I think what I realized through this journey is that you can do both, because people have a really hard time figuring out where to place me. They see me as super successful, but they see me like struggling a lot with my health. Yeah. And I'm doing both. I was talking to an inspector the other night that I was working with, and he told me, he's like, you're so positive that I do sometimes wonder if you go home and take off that front and just cry for hours over your situation. I was like, wow, bro, that's really heavy there.
Right, that's deep.
I mean, maybe sometimes.
I know. I was like, I do have
and
my
maybe
days.
maybe I'm just crying because it's real estate.
Yeah, you know what? Real estate will make you cry.
Yes,
Yeah.
honestly.
It doesn't take this illness.
I don't even
So-
sell real
Yeah.
estate.
I can't imagine like the diagnosis, the mental and emotional struggle that follows,
Yeah.
let alone the physical.
Right.
I would
Yeah.
argue, obviously the physical is terrifying, but I would almost argue that the mental and emotional is the heavier of the burdens.
I would
Maybe?
say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you somehow, obviously that was a super high level overview of
I
like
know,
what
it
your
is.
life was like. But you go and you take your test
Mm-hmm.
and you get licensed. And how are you at that point? You're like, all right, I've got this fight for my health, my
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
And I also have this dream to fulfill some type of career,
Yeah.
having no probably idea of what to expect with
No.
it. How did you face that?
Honestly, one day at a time. I was scared to death. I can't even tell you, I can't even begin to articulate how scared I was. Every day, oh my gosh, every day I forgot I would do this. I would tell myself, what would you do if you knew you couldn't lose? I literally had to tell myself that every single day. I was so scared. I just felt like everybody else was better than me, that they were more accomplished than me. But you know what? You got to get rid of those beliefs. And so I've been listening to a podcast for the last couple of weeks about limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And I realized that I think is what changed my life is I had to get rid of limiting myself. Others already were limiting me. And I was viewed as the sick person. And back before I started real estate, I was known for the girl who was sick all the time. And somebody told me recently that I carried sadness with me, that I just looked really sad all the time. So this career has actually changed my life and it woke me up.
Well, they told you that recently?
Yeah, somebody that back before I was in real estate that I
Oh,
carried,
oh.
before I was.
I was like,
yeah.
wait, what?
I'm not sad anymore. I'm winning pretty big.
Right?
So I'm happy. No, but I carried that sadness. And I think that was part of, I was believing what I'd been told.
Right.
And I was limiting myself. And one thing that's hard to share, but that I think I took on when I was 24 is I had this thought in my head that by 35, I'd be in a wheelchair. You know how you just have this idea, and what a terrible idea to have, but it's the idea I carried in my head. So I almost made it come true for myself because
Yeah.
I've really realized that what you believe really does come true.
Yeah.
And so if you're believing these horrible things about yourself, like I could have made it come to pass.
Yeah.
Just because I believed it, and then you almost feed into what you're thinking and believing subconsciously and probably consciously. And it didn't hit me till I was, a couple of years later, I was like, oh my gosh, that hasn't come true. This is freaking amazing. And then it woke me up again, in that way, just thinking, oh my gosh, what was I doing to myself? So for people who are listening, I think we all have those limiting beliefs. And my encouragement is to try to figure out what they are. Like some advice I heard was like to journal them, to write down what are the things holding you back, because you can go as far as you think you can go. There was a quote I read the other day. It was like, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yep.
And I think it was Henry Ford that said that. And so you can only go as far as you believe you'll go. Isn't that crazy to think about?
No, it's 100%. I was listening to a coach last week, Ed Milet. I don't know if you know who Ed Milet is. And he was talking about how so few people visualize their futures appropriately. And that in order to really get where you're trying to get in life, you need to take time and get clarity. And I talk about clarity of vision all the time, but to this degree, he said, where are you going to be in 10 years? And what does that life look like? What does it feel like?
Yeah.
What does it sound like? What car are you driving? What's your family doing?
Yeah.
What foods are you eating? Where are you living? Where are you traveling to? What, all of those different things. And when you get really clear on what those things are, then you can start making today's decisions based on that vision.
Right.
And that helps keep you focused on that outcome in particular. What's your day-to-day look like, other than the pure chaos of somehow selling $12 million in real estate in 3 months? What does that day-to-day look like in order to find that balance?
it's a lot of intentionality. And I think that is super important. So just on the health side, you know, getting up in the morning, I'll be honest, I can hardly walk in the morning. You guys would not believe it. I don't even like to let my husband see me limp because it's just embarrassing. It makes me really sad, honestly. But I can hardly walk in the morning. So every morning I have to get up and try to get my legs moving, whether it be with Peloton or yoga or whatever. Sometimes I don't even have time to work out. Before I get to work, like I had a closing at 7:30 this morning. So I'm getting up, I'm limping around my house, trying to just get the blood flowing in my legs. Like it's a vicious disease. It really pisses me off, but it like lights me up because it makes me mad because I'm like, you are not going to win.
Right.
And then you get an asshole like me who's like, you should do 75 hard.
Right.
And she made it further than I
tried.
did. So
Yeah, don't listen to Sean. He's like day 3. He's like,
okay, shut up.
We both, I think I made it like 2 weeks. And then I was like, I can't do this. This is just too much for my body. So anyway, so I get up, I try to work out and get my legs physically moving. This is an ideal morning, people. And then do meditation and read my Bible and stuff like that. And then just jump into work. I mean, I'm just busy. So just trying to balance the work and, you know, trying to stay on top of my health. And then, you know, I'll go for a walk in the evening or in the middle of the day. I just try to fit it in where I can. But every single day, you know, I'm taking lots of supplements. I'm watching my mental thoughts, you know, my energy, my mental energy. I'm eating really, really well. So I have to plan my meals out. You know, if I'm going out to eat, I have to eat really well and stuff like that. So anyway, just stuff like that is probably like day to day on a high level, you know, looking over my day. So
it sounds almost cyclical, but like how does your disease affect your real estate and your real estate affect your disease? Because I feel like there's factors from both that affect the other.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure with this being your life every single day.
Yeah.
Just give us a little bit of that.
I'll start with how my, which side do I want to start on? I would say that I have to be really, you know, careful about what I do. And so that has really impacted the way that I live my life because of my disease. But I like my legs haven't felt great in the last year and a half. 2020 was like a massive year for me volume wise. And it was the year that I went to a doctor's visit, long story. I haven't been feeling well since there was something that happened at the visit, something that he tweaked in my neck. And for some reason, it messed up my leg pretty badly. So my whole right side has been worse since 2020. So I'm now battling on a deeper level, which is really frustrating. But almost every single day when I feel frustrated that I have to deal with this disease while I'm dealing with real estate, I remind myself, I mean, it's bad. It's like 5 times a day. Seriously, like you probably wouldn't be in this place and be so successful if it wasn't for your story, which leads into what Sean quoted at the beginning about, I'm like, it's hard when you have a really tough story, but it's the thing that people want to know about the most. Like, how are you able to navigate and, you know, kind of figure all this out? But I hope that answers your question a little bit. Like, it's just, or you asked it. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, you're good. I was like, oh, yeah, you did ask a question.
I was like, who asked the question? I don't even remember. But yeah, no, I find that I think one of the reasons I've done well in my business, and I hope this encourages people to be vulnerable and honest with your story.
Be authentic, right? Yeah,
to be authentic. Guys, I think that's why I'm doing so well, because people trust me and they know that I'm being honest with my story and that I'm battling with them. So I find that a lot of people open up to me and trust me quickly, and they know that I don't have time to mess around, or I'm not even salesy. I'm not out there selling houses, like convincing people to buy houses or sell. They come to me. I literally don't even have time to market myself because all my energy is...
Well, it's all relationship and referral.
Yeah, it is. You always talk about that, and you're absolutely right whenever you say that, because it's helping me win on every level. Well,
and I mean, for anybody listening who isn't battling every day like you, we all should still be battling, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed for anybody, right? Like, go out there with that same intentionality in your life and get that clarity of vision of where you're going and take that action every single day to get you there. But it's crazy. I mean, every time you tell the story, I get goosebumps.
Wow.
And then beyond that, every time you tell the story, I look at my own life and go, damn, you're being lazy in this aspect or this aspect. And Elizabeth gets up and finds no excuses to get up and, you know, battle her health challenges that she's facing currently, and battle in her business, and go to bat for her clients and sell however many houses you're going to end up selling this year because you put people first.
Right.
And you don't make any excuses because you can't.
I can't.
If you do make an excuse, you're going to be stuck in bed probably for a while, right?
It's no joke.
Yeah. And so why then do we all take everything for granted and allow us to make daily excuses as to why we can't?
Yeah.
When literally all we have to do is do it.
You know what? Typically I find that people are just believing lies. They don't realize they're lies, but they're believing lies about themselves. And I realized that's what I was doing. So the number one thing I hear that people say about me is they say that, oh man, it makes me want to cry. But people say that when they feel like they're struggling, they remember me and they feel like that they can make it because I can make it. And so that just blows me away that just your life and your story and the way you live it can inspire other people. So any agents that are listening, like, keep living your, whatever you're dealing with, keep living your story and being honest and vulnerable and authentic with it. And you'll find that more people are drawn to you and they want to be around you and they're begging you for business. You're not begging them for business. I mean, it has been the craziest thing that's ever happened to me to watch how being true to my story and just living it in an honest way has impacted so many lives already. And I think we can do more of that.
Yeah. I don't know why people are scared to be authentic.
I don't either.
It's interesting.
They're scared for people to know them.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if they feel like they're not enough or, I mean, I've battled all that.
Can't relate. I tell too much of my life all the
You're
time.
honest.
I'm like, yeah, sorry.
You don't count.
TMI. Always.
I mean, perhaps it's a self-esteem thing.
Yeah.
Or just the facade. Hey, if I put out this facade and everybody thinks I'm this way, then
I mean, it's a
that's
fear
what
of being
they'll be.
that's
judged.
true.
It's always a fear of being judged. I feel like
That is so true.
it goes back to your fear at the beginning.
True.
Is people have a fear of being known and being judged,
Yeah.
but we also have a desire
and
to
not
be
being
known.
accepted.
Yes, acceptance is a big thing, and we all want to be known and we want to be loved. Like, we're just everyone, even if you say you don't.
At the core, that is what
That
everyone
is what we
wants.
want.
I've noticed that too.
So.
Yeah. It's very true. Yeah.
Safe, loved, heard. What is it? Who is that? Oh my God. I could have told myself that a minute ago. Anyway.
I'm no help. I don't know.
Somebody's going to
just not
comment
sure
and be
where you're
like,
going
wow,
with that."
Sean's an idiot. I'm just going to call it a brain moment. We still don't have that button, do we?
You guys crack me up when you talk about that.
It's
I'm like, this is
you
going to
get
be
here and you're
perfect.
like, what was I supposed to talk about again?
Yeah.
Always.
Like, oh my
Always.
God, I lost the button.
So how's your family been with this?
They're amazing. I mean, it hasn't been easy, but my daughter is about to be 14 and I've been battling this since before she was born. Mm-hmm. And so as far as the health aspect, that's all she knows. What's actually been harder for her is how successful I've been. And so in 2020, I kind of blew it a little bit. I was gone too much. But, we were all trying to figure out 2020. That was a really rough year.
Yeah.
That was a busy year.
And I got through it by ignoring what was happening in the world. And I sold like 60 houses, did over 20 million in volume. I was slammed. And I had just got my license a year and a half before that, pretty much. And I was just,
It's a heck of a second year.
I didn't a full year. Yeah. I didn't know what to do. I was like so overwhelmed and I'm like, I don't even know how to manage this. So I was doing the best I could, but I realized in 2021, I realized my daughter needed me a lot more. So my goal is now to be home as much as I possibly can with her. Mm-hmm. And then I think, it just gets easier and easier. The deeper you get into this career, you just find ways to manage it. You find ways to outsource. You guys have a lot of great tools for outsourcing.
We do.
For your agents, a little plug there.
Yeah, thanks. I'll take it.
Join simpliHOM.com.
Yeah.
Second plug. So what are you most looking forward to?
Like what, the year? Or
No, just in general, like in your life, your family, your business, whatever.
And it can be something in all of those categories.
Oh man, I'm trying to think. I'm just excited to keep doing, like, to get deeper into this career. And I am so passionate about how referrals are and how they work. And I'm just finding such ease this year already. Like, I get calls, texts almost every single day for business. Mm-hmm. So just finding the ease of that, which allows me then more time to be with my family. And honestly, I added up, I spent over 150 hours last year at my doctor's office, trying to do therapy, trying to get better. So my numbers were a little lower than I liked. I mean, I still sold like 35 houses and there was also low inventory, but no excuses. But anyway,
Inventory? I've never heard that word.
Oh my gosh, don't get me started.
150 hours at the doctor.
A lot.
That's a ton of time.
I've been desperate to try to get more use back in my right leg, and to figure out what's going on. And so I did tons of therapy and tons of stuff. I don't even know if it helped. I think it did.
That's why I'll
And-
probably send you a PDF afterwards because
Yeah.
your hubby does.
My husband's a physical therapist.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I could probably stand to do more of that.
Yeah.
Actually. Oh man.
but he takes more of a holistic approach. So
No, that's me too.
yeah.
That's
So,
all
yeah.
I do.
I say
Yeah.
he's great. I mean, I'm sure he is. I mean,
I'm sure he is. Never used
No,
him.
I'm all
but-
for that. So for the record, I don't take any medication, which that's why doctors, I actually, for the record, I love neurologists. I love doctors. I think they serve a great purpose, but they tell me I'm crazy because they hear I'm not taking medication. I don't need people to tell me I'm crazy. That just messes with my head. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're like, I already knew that. I don't need you to tell
I'm
me.
very
You don't need
aware.
to solidify that.
I know I am. I see how many houses I sell.
Yes.
I know how many appointments I cram into a day.
Oh my gosh, I see how little I sleep. I actually try to sleep as much as I can, but
Oh my God.
don't always get to.
I can't even talk about sleep right
Dude.
now. It's the worst.
I think you're getting less than I am.
I am not getting much
Not a good sleeper. I need.
lately. And so I went down this rabbit hole of like sleep aids,
Yeah.
I guess, for a while.
I was gonna suggest.
And yeah, well, so I was like, all right, you know, what's going to work for me? And I refuse to take melatonin because I
Okay.
don't want to mess with melatonin levels.
Yeah.
It's true.
I also refuse to use my blue blocker glasses at night like I should be, which is
Wow.
just a
That's huge.
super simple thing to be
Yeah.
like, just put the glasses on so
Yeah.
you can
They make
Just
it
stare at
replace
yourself.
like
what
an
you're doing.
orb.
Yeah, it's weird, right? You just like this orange world.
Yes.
It is
There's
weird.
a political joke
feel
in there
funny.
somewhere probably. But then beyond that, so I tried Delta 8 gummies.
Oh.
And they're fully federally and state
Before
legal
someone
for
comes for
anyone
him.
who wants to know.
That's right.
They were shipped to my house. I didn't buy them from some crazy place.
There you go.
Um,
That's safer that way.
And yeah, right. And so I took like a half of one, and I have turned so many people onto these things.
Wow.
Over the last year or so.
You were all
where
about them. Are they not
I'm
working
still all
anymore?
about them. The problem is I'm an idiot and staying up working too late. And then like if I try to take
If
one
it's
at like
past a certain
12
time.
and I have to get up at 5,
You still feel the effects of it.
it doesn't work that way. Like you end up waking up at 7 going, what happened? Where'd the last 2 hours
So
go?
it really does knock you out.
You like find your phone laying somewhere and the alarm's magically turned off and you're like,
Right.
I don't remember doing that, but
I need to
evidently
try
did.
them because everyone raves about
You
them
do
in
need to
this
try it.
office.
I think
You
I
do
need to
try
try
it.
them too.
I just
But try it
Actually have
at
to
like
do it.
10 if you
Yes.
want to wake up at like 5.
You
or
need a
six.
better.
I've been
You need
good
a
to
better
bed for that.
bedtime system.
Yeah, well,
Like going to bed, trying to go to bed at 10 or 11. I mean, it's not easy.
that's so hard.
Sometimes I'm negotiating offers at 11.
Right.
What
exactly.
do you do?
Or you know the
Nothing.
11:59 cutoff and repairs,
Yes.
and you're like, oh my god, it's 11:58.
Nobody's
I gotta
doing
get this
repairs,
done.
just so you know.
That's true.
That would be
There's
more
that.
like contract
I'm
offers
sorry,
and
like
things like
2
that.
years ago
Sorry,
when I was
that's
still
a little
relevant.
out of touch.
Sean's
It's
out
all
of the
pass
game.
fail at this point.
I don't know what I'm talking about anymore in real estate, but
It's all good. You just live
just
there.
kidding.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so yeah, that's been a thing for me is like, you know, I have my phone in like the bedtime mode thing. So at
Yeah.
like 10 it like shuts down all the apps and everything.
It's nice.
And then magically I still end up like doing something. Computer's open. Doesn't
Oh,
shut
yeah.
down the internet.
no, it doesn't.
So
You should
anyway.
work on that then.
Yeah, well, we all
Shut
have
it
things
off.
to work on. There are also like seasons though where you have to
I agree.
and I hate that word. I don't even know why I do that.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
Here we
But it's
go.
accurate.
Keep going with
Soapbox,
it.
soapbox.
It's music to my ears. Seasons. Here
Soapbox
we go.
moment. Oh God. But there
Yeah.
are times in which you have to dedicate a little bit more front load work to get to another result.
I've noticed
And
that too.
So like I'm in a heavy front load work period
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now, right? Where it's just like I've got a ton going on here during the day. At night I'm exhausted, but I'm also like, you know, me and my kids, we do a foosball tournament every single night.
Very cute.
And my son is obsessed with Smash Brothers on his Switch, and so he's like, "Daddy, can we play Smash Bros?" And I'm like, "I don't feel like losing tonight. Can we play foosball? Because at least I know I'll win." So
Humbling.
I don't know. Like you try to fit time for everything.
Yeah, I know.
And so I can't imagine like you have to fit time for health and intentionality and
Yeah.
exercise because you have to, and
Yeah.
clean eating and meal prep, which we all know is just
What's eating out?
Yeah.
Finding good foods to eat when you're
Which is
out.
hard.
It is hard.
Because like you go anywhere
You have to
and
get
like
salads and stuff.
and the salads will kill you with the sodium.
True.
So it's like you can't even find like there's
Yeah.
all this juggling that happens.
Yeah.
And to take this back full circle to real estate, people always comment on how busy they are, right? Because it's just like this cool
Love
buzzword
that
to
word.
talk about how
I
busy
know.
you are.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't really talk about or focus on how productive they are.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
they use busy as an excuse to get
Mhm.
out of everything that they should be doing in order to be successful.
Right.
You see the same things, I assume.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It makes people feel good to say they're successful,
Yeah.
but productive is so much better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think you're actually kind of taking accountability when you're saying you're productive. Like you're trying to win on all levels. Be there for my family, do my workouts and do real estate. And I don't know, I think busy just feels like it's almost like a scapegoat
Yeah.
for people.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
and it's, like I've found in order to be the most effective, productive version of myself, to give it to your family, to give it to your staff, to give it to your team, to give it to your work, to give it to all these different things.
Yeah.
If you're doing it right, you're going to come home and you're like dead,
Yeah.
like absolutely exhausted. And then you got to give a little bit more sometimes because that's what it takes to get over the mountain.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But, like, I don't know how people have time or the energy, frankly, to go home and watch TV for 4 hours a night.
I don't know.
And that's
either.
the national
Yeah.
average is people watch
Wow.
4 hours of TV per day.
Wow.
I'm like, how?
How do they fit that in?
That's
yeah, how do you
amazing.
fit it? Well,
I
they
fall
fit it in
asleep.
because they get home at 6 and then they like eat dinner and then they sit there and they veg and stare at the TV until midnight,
Wow.
right? I mean, I guess. Or they
Yeah.
watch it when they're supposed to be working.
Yeah.
Like
That's
that reel
true.
you sent me. That was funny.
I was waiting for you to get here, Mr. Sean. Mr. Mikey.
Swat sends me a reel of Kim Kardashian talking about, getting to work and everyone needs to get to work. And it has this employee sitting there saying,
Or it's like my boss and me.
yeah, my
And
boss and me, and I'm about to ask for 2 weeks off for vacation. My boss
You
is
need
going,
to get to work.
you need to get to work. There's no
And
excuse.
then he's just agreeing. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
You're right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, do you have any takeaways
Do I have any
from this
takeaways?
whole conversation here?
Oh, that
I'm
was
throwing you on the
I didn't
spot.
know we were going
Johnny
there
on
right
the
now.
spot.
Well, we just talked about being productive versus busy, and I think that's been a big thing for us in the office recently. And so, I mean, just to hear that you sold 35 homes last year with 150 hours in the doctor's office, at that point, that's what I
That's
see. as
4
productive.
weeks.
I can't
Yes.
believe I kept my clients.
It's
Literally.
an entire month.
They would text me and I would say, I'm so sorry, I'm at the doctor. But people are very understanding when they know you're not just messing around. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'll get back to you. I'm at another doctor's visit.
And I feel like people use excuses like that a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a lie a lot of the times. And
Yeah.
so, like, to know you're coming from.
It's a lie a lot of times.
No, you've got to think about how often do you hear that from people? That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying
it's true.
It's like Brett and his chiropractic appointments.
Right.
Hey,
Come on,
bro, I'm
Brett,
at the
get it
doctor.
together.
I'll be there in a little bit. I'm like,
does-
God, you go to the doctor more than anyone ever met. He's like, it's the chiro every 2 weeks. I'm like, why do you need a chiropractor? You're 35.
They are pretty awesome.
Are they?
Yeah, I love them too.
Do you like the chiropractor?
They've helped me a lot.
So I'm terrified of the chiropractor.
Are you?
Miller does all the manipulations. They call them adjustments, but
Yeah.
physical therapists call them adjustment or manipulation. So
yeah.
I don't like manipulation.
I
a
don't
whole
either.
lot.
I don't either.
it's great. Just
It's
get my neck
bad.
A
cracked.
little double entendre
Yeah.
in that one. No, so the chiropractor scares me because Ashley Ford had a friend who went to the chiro. They popped her neck or whatever, and she had a stroke on the table, and then had to go.
Solid.
And I'm like, no, I'm done.
I do know a girl who. had
Nope, I'm out.
an
Remember what I
adjustment.
told you about my right leg
Yeah,
in the doctor
yeah,
visit?
yeah.
I wasn't going to call it out, but tweaked like right there. My leg has never been the same since.
Yep. Oh, but she
That
still likes
was
the
in 2020.
Are you
chiropractor.
still going to the chiropractor?
It took me a long
Well, it's a
time
different
to trust
chiropractor now.
Oh, it's different. And they knew how scared I was. They didn't touch my neck for a long time until I said
Yeah.
it took about 6 months for me to trust them enough.
I'm
And
sa-
I told them what happened and said, please don't do that. So
Please don't do that again. I
Every
freaked
single
out.
day I make
very
Miller pop my
scary.
neck.
It's real.
Yeah, no. So I can't
terrifying.
handle that.
I know.
I went to a massage therapist in 2014, I think.
Yeah.
And I freaked out when this chick put some oils on my feet and didn't tell me she was doing it. I started like smelling weird things, and I'm like, what is happening? I'm
like, what's
dying
coming out
right
of my
now.
feet?
Yeah. And she's like, oh, by the way, I put some oils on your feet. I meant to tell you. I'm like, I mean, you could have told me before. Like,
Could have
hey, by
asked
the way,
me.
I'm going to throw some oils on your feet. It's going to make you feel a little weird. Nope.
Oh my gosh.
Not this one.
Sean is so dramatic. I love it.
I'm not really dramatic. I'm just particular.
It's all right. You're looking out for yourself, for your
Yes,
safety.
we love it.
Yeah, chiropractor can't do it. Being able to juggle clients with 4 weeks in the office,
Yes, so
in the
sorry.
doctor's
Yes,
office.
we're coming back. This
Yeah,
is what
good job.
productivity. But just hearing that, even when you said that, you said 35 houses and that, and we just started talking about productivity. I'm like, there are people not selling that many, and they are not at the doctor that long, and they are saying they are busy, and so.
Was that 150 hours last year or the year before?
No, that was last year.
Okay.
So that's why the year before that, I sold 60 houses.
Yeah.
And believe me, I was down on myself for not selling as many as I wanted to last
You
year.
should have been. I'm kidding.
I know. Where were you? You should have told me that too. I was really down on myself. I was like so frustrated that I couldn't have sold, because I'm always shooting for the moon, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you hit something one year, you're like,
Yeah, I know. The next
Even
year, like,
better.
I got to do it
this.
again.
I got this.
we're all
So-
like that. We're tough on ourselves.
Man, I know.
How many has it been this year?
I
I know you're at 12 million.
I think the average
How many
sales price
units?
these days is like 3 mil.
That's
So that's
the
only
problem.
like 4 deals.
I know, right? I think I'm at maybe 15. I don't know. I'd have to go count.
I mean, you're already on track to.
My husband tracks my numbers for me because he knows I get down on myself
Oh.
really quickly. So he does this little pie chart to show me. He's like, "You're already halfway to your goal."
A pie chart.
I was like,
I
"Well,
love
I
that.
said
a
I said
sticker
I
on the
upped-
fridge.
Yeah.
Just
Well, what I did is because I was doing so well this quickly, I'm like, "Oh, I'm upping my goal." So I quickly changed it and went up a few mil.
Going
'cause
to
I'm like,
75.
yeah, there you go. I'm
That's the
I'm doing so well. I
75
gotta go
hard we
higher.
need from you.
There you go.
That's the
yeah.
75
So
hard.
That's
yeah,
it.
so I did the
75
same.
houses.
Yeah, I did the same thing last year for us as a company.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, end of the year, our goal is 300 agents in the company.
Okay.
And then we started we hit this stride. And I was like, nope, 500. That's it.
And then we got, oh.
And then we get to November, I'm like, 400, maybe
Where did you land?
360.
See, that's not bad.
Yeah, well,
December 28th,
Womp
he's
womp.
like 375.
And I can never remember. Is it better to do a almost hard to reach target that's
well, I mean,
unattainable? or like
if you talk to
mentally,
Grant
what's better?
Cardone, he's like, hey, shoot for 10x of whatever you want. So go sell 600 houses this year.
Yeah, of
And if you
course.
aim for 600, you might sell 80.
There you go.
And that's winning.
That makes sense though mentally.
It does, but it's also, I mean, it's a great way to set yourself up for failure. But
That's what I feel like.
as long as you
Yeah.
know that you're setting yourself up for failure, then it's
Yeah.
still a
I know,
success,
but
I
then
guess.
you still feel the failure. I am
I
someone who's
know.
just like, man.
See,
Really
I'm
do
the
it to
same way,
myself.
actually. I don't think I should do that to myself.
I don't know.
Just another thing to add to your plate. No big
I know,
deal.
right?
Just unattainable goals.
I have my moments where I'm super laser focused on let's get to X
Yeah.
and we're going to do it by X, which
Yeah.
is important just from a business perspective. It's good to
Mm-hmm.
do those things.
Have some goal at least.
Yeah, but feeling disappointment, I don't know that I really feel too much disappointment anymore because there's so much
He's like, I'm winning so big, I don't.
no,
Right.
no. I mean, there are plenty of moments that I go, really, I
Yeah.
don't want to deal with this, or really.
But I feel like we're
God,
in
I
such
thought
a
we were-
growth stage that you don't really have time to
We've been
stay
in,
on those.
we've been in
true.
a growth stage since the very beginning. Swy was the first ever employee here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Baby Swy.
Yeah.
Baby Swy. She was 22 at the time, right?
Wow.
Yeah, it was the day after I turned 22 that I met Sean.
Yep.
And
That's awesome.
I got
22, freshly married, freshly.
I was finished in December.
That's
This
right.
was in May, but I was working on my master's, so I was still doing school.
Yeah.
School, cheer, and all the things.
This girl grew
That's
up
cool.
quick.
Yeah.
But when we rebranded because we were home group in the very beginning. And
Oh,
so
I don't even remember
we
that.
did a quick rebrand because our
Wow.
trademark got declined.
Oh.
Because there was a My Home group out in Phoenix or Vegas, somewhere on the West Coast. And I was like, oh man, I should have researched better.
Yeah.
And
It'd
so
be
we
like that.
rebranded to simpliHOM, and literally it was a 3-minute conversation.
Wow.
I got an email, I was sitting on my couch and I was like, oh, that sucks. Huh. Well, we've been using hashtag simpliHOM and it better
came to you
defines
that
who we are.
fast.
Yeah. And literally it was just boom, let's go. And then it
Wow.
cost us $100,000 to do it.
Of course.
No big deal.
Chump change, really.
Chump
But for a name like that, that's awesome.
Yeah, I guess. Well,
I know,
think
like
it's great.
looking
Thank you.
back, it's fun. Like I love simpliHOM and the branding and the colors.
I do too.
yeah,
so
I
much
think about
more.
home group and I'm like, could have done it better from
I was
the
about to say
beginning.
we could have done better, but here we are. We were
That was
doing it better.
basic compared to what
Oh
you have
God,
now.
we
Right.
were red and purple.
Oh.
Sean loved it. Sean
Are you
loved
serious?
It gave me anxiety.
Okay,
Ah!
so it was red and black. And then like we went to this like deep purple that was like something off black.
I was not here when he decided on these colors. I was hired.
I was
with
drunk
the
at home
colors.
when I came up with it.
Wow.
And then and then
How'd you
There's
Okay.
a
Picture
reason
this.
behind the purple, though, right?
yeah, sort of. The blurple. And we called it blurple. And the blurple was because I found when I was changing, like the whole hexagon thing came about because we initially were just like it was like a house with a bunch of circles that made up the house. And I was like, man, I want some like detail thing that like you can't tell until you get up close to it.
Yeah.
That it's something other than a circle. And so one night it's like 3:00 in the morning. I'm 6 beers in. This is back when I used to drink. I don't drink anymore for all those listeners who are judging me right now. And I'm like, wait, what about a hexagon? And so then I go down the rabbit hole of Google, understanding hexagons. And I'm like, oh gosh, it's in your DNA. It's in honeycombs. It's the cloud on top of Saturn. It's all of these different
That's
things
cool.
in nature are hexagons. And so I was like, well, maybe subconsciously people would be drawn to our brand because it's like literally a part of them, right?
It's like life.
And it's,
Life is
it's life.
calling them.
Yeah, we need to do some like ads where like the back are like
Right.
DNA strands, you know?
Totally.
Appeal to a different audience.
Yeah.
Here we are.
The
There you go.
scientific audience. And so when I pulled up this picture of this infrared satellite image of Saturn to verify that that was actually a fact, it was this like blurple color.
And he went for it.
And I went for it and I went hard and I shouldn't have, but I did.
Oh, man.
And
Okay, but that's the fun thing, though. It's
Oh,
fun
we've-
to look back now. Like,
we've
look
done-
at us.
Look how far you've come.
We're so mature.
yeah, we're mature. We've done so much when it comes to like those little like pivots and changes and stuff. And, you know, our approach these days is you just go for it.
I think it's
and
important.
it either works or it doesn't.
Yeah. I was just telling someone last week on that note that these days I say yes and then figure out how I'm going to do it. And my husband and I were talking about
Yep.
it. That we were saying, I think, because my husband's big on the 80-20 rule.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that puts you in the 20% when you just say yes to things and then figure out how you're going to do it. Just almost jumping in.
Like my conversation yesterday about that potential growth thing that simpliHOM is
Right.
considering. It's very much like a, let's do it.
Let's do it. And then you figure it
it's
out.
like, can we meet next week and maybe talk about how
Yeah.
this works?
Yeah.
Because if you hesitate, you lose it.
Yeah, I'm not a hesitator.
No, you can't be.
For sure. And I
Especially
just
in
made
this
up
industry.
a word.
Hesitator.
Yeah.
Hesitator. I feel like that might be yours.
I didn't know that was a verb.
I'm using it.
Hesitator.
Mr. Hesitation.
Don't be a
over
hesitator.
here.
And then you commit to your stupidity sometimes.
Yeah, there you
You
go.
gotta roll with it.
All right. Well, cool.
Wait, I wanted to hear yours.
Hear
Oh,
my
yes.
what?
Yeah. What was your takeaway?
My takeaway is I get inspired by the fact
Yeah,
that she
it's
has like
inspiring.
no excuses and gets stuff done, and the fact that I mean, like I truly think that if more people took that I don't have another option
Mm-hmm.
out of this approach, that they would be far more productive and far more
100%.
successful. And I'm guilty. I'm very guilty of that. Right?
Yeah.
Like
And we don't realize how many people are watching us, and so I mean, so you've heard
Yeah.
how many people are watching you, and who's looking at us that we're maybe not leaving our best example or putting our best foot forward.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm so guilty though of like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. But what if, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's true.
and it's not fair to you. It's not fair to your dependents. It's not fair to
Yeah.
your team. It's not fair to anybody to put off what you can do today. And so, you know, I try to, I've been going through some major mental shifts in the last little bit. And it's like, you know, your story has helped shape some of those mental shifts for me to take more action and perform at a peak that I had frankly gotten lazy and tired
It's
of
easy to
performing
do
at.
that. Yeah.
You know, you hit this point where everything's going and you're going and you're going and you just start getting kind of burned out, quote unquote, which is an excuse, nothing but an excuse. But it's something that everybody's guilty of. And so I had hit this point of just pure, almost, I guess, just mental exhaustion where I was like, man, I can't perform. Like I show up and I can't even like think.
Yeah. Plus, you're
into the
dealing with the
problem.
brain fog.
Yeah, the brain
So
fog was
now-
real.
yeah.
Yeah. Somehow that got,
we'll just blame
It
it on
went away.
COVID.
Yeah,
Was
There
it
you
your
go.
COVID brain fog?
probably. Except it
I'm
lasted.
having
Because that stuff is
freaking
real.
hair loss.
Here we go.
Oh, you are?
COVID hair loss.
Don't say here we go. You witnessed it.
Yeah.
Clumps and clumps,
Clumps
are
of
falling out
hair
of
in
my
the office
head.
floor.
We'll
yeah.
talk later. I have some ideas.
I'm panicked. It's fine.
scary.
Everyone
I'm
says it. Everyone says it resolves itself.
Yeah, when you run out of hair.
Then I'm gonna lose. That's true. And at
What would
that
you like for
point,
Christmas, Spy? A wig.
please. I'm begging.
so bad.
Someone said that though. They're like, yeah, it just keeps happening for months. I'm like, I don't have months.
You don't have months.
Wow.
You have a lot
I
more
mean, I
hair
have
than
a
you
lot
think
of
you
hair,
have, though.
yes.
I mean,
I'm being very dramatic, and I'm just a dramatic
But it
person.
is
I can't
scary.
help it. I'm just like, oh, and curly hair sheds a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
so
then
ever
it's like-
since you brought attention to it, though, like anytime I brush my hair, I'm like, hair like falling into my
Out of his
sink.
eyebrow, he's like, oh my god.
And I'm like, oh God.
I'm losing my hair too.
I'm turning
so
into Brett.
maybe I'm just being over.
I love throwing
I'm
shade at
just
the people who
noticing
aren't
it
here
now.
to defend them.
Right? Come on.
That's my
It
They
is
favorite.
don't
really
listen.
bad.
He's not gonna listen to it anyway, so he's
I
not
know,
even
he'll
gonna
never know.
You might want to tell him he needs
Yeah.
to.
We'll just talk trash. It's fine. But yeah,
My
but
bad.
it was
It's
I'll
all
leave
good.
the room now.
right.
Yeah, I'll forgive you for that.
you later.
But it's also true. So, anyway, I would just, if I had a final word for everyone listening, I would just be to take more risks. Don't be afraid to take risks. You know what I mean? Why are you smiling?
100%. No, I'm just,
we
I
love
agree
it.
100%. I mean, so few
I'm
people
probably
will
preaching
take
your
risks.
sermon. Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
100%. Yeah.
I think people are just afraid of failing. But there's so many quotes about, I can't think of anything right now, but there's so many quotes that talk about that. Like, it's just, I think the number one word I can think of is just courage. Like courage to keep moving forward. And I think that's why I'm winning so big is I just keep moving forward. And I've told Sean before, nobody can make me quit, and I will not quit. And when you have that mindset that you refuse to quit, you can win pretty big.
Yeah.
Bigger than you think you could.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's super exciting to me to watch where I've come from and how far I've come. And I think there's a lot more growth I have ahead.
Absolutely.
And it's just exciting to see. It's proof that anyone can do this. If I can do it, that's what people tell me a lot. They're like, if you can do it, I can do it. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Because
Yeah.
I'm like the low man on the podium here or whatever,
Only because you're short, but not
Sure.
any other reason.
That too.
My one of the quotes that got me through some of the hardest times of my life was, "It doesn't take money to make money; it takes courage."
Yeah. That's true.
And obviously, money shouldn't be the focus here, because if you focus on money, you're never going to have any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you focus on those things, the courage, the
Yeah.
action, the
Yep.
taking the risks, etc., then you'll get to where you're trying to get.
Every time. I agree.
What you got?
Oh, I was just gonna.
Ask me and then close it, because that's how you swim away.
Head on out. But no, I don't think I was about to ask you anything.
That's good.
Oh, I was kind of giving you the nod of, are you doing the outro or
Oh,
am
you can
I?
do the
Who's
outro.
doing it?
Oh, well,
Yeah,
now we've
go
talked
for it.
about it. So, well, guys, thank you for joining us for the simpliHOM podcast. It was so awesome to get to talk
Yeah.
to you today. And
Thanks for having me, guys.
make sure you follow her. Do you have anywhere that they can follow you?
All the socials. I'm taking a break from social media, but I'll be back probably by the time this is live. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Okay,
So what's your
awesome.
handle though?
The Elizabeth Taylor on Instagram and then Elizabeth Taylor on Facebook.
Okay,
Boom.
so Kyle, put it in the show notes, and
Yeah.
we will see you guys next week. Follow us on all of the stuff, all of the things. And yeah, we will see you later.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys. Hey, guys, it's Swy. Thank you for joining us this week, and we really hope you got some useful information and we made your day a little bit better. If you're interested in joining the movement of realtors getting their time and life back, check us out at joinsimplihome.com on the browser, at simpliHOM on socials, or in the description. See you next week.